Greetings, everybody. I am the artist formerly known as Obviously Jesus. It feels very, very strange to be back in front of the camera. I don't really even know what to call myself. I've thought about using the old name. I think I am using the old name technically. But I don't know. It's very, very strange. And I want to start by giving a thank you to all the people on Patreon who are supporting me in making these new videos after so long. It's been crazy. I thought I was going to get 15, maybe even just $10 out of this Patreon thing, and it's up to, at the time that I'm recording this, 67 after fees, which is insanity. It's insanity that many people still care about what the fuck I have to say, but it's incredibly flattering and humbling, and hopefully I will do right by all of you guys and give you the videos that you want to see. I want this thing to be a Patreon-controlled thing. If you have any ideas about the production, of course I've already talked about how I want topics from you. Just throw them in the comments section. I don't even know how to deliver a Patreon video yet. I don't know if you upload it on your YouTube and you link to it, or if it's some third-party site thing, but we'll find out. It's going to be great. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be weird making videos again, but yeah, it's up to you people. It's up to you how this whole thing goes down, so I don't know. That's about it. Without further ado, let's get into our first video topic. It's sort of a narrative topic, and before all you people who wanted me to talk about philosophy right off the bat, like get antsy, we're going to go there. We're going to go there a little bit. We're going to merge the two, because I'm not so good at talking about myself in the particulars, and it makes me uncomfortable a little bit, but we'll do the abstract. We'll hit the broad strokes, and we'll talk about what I've been doing for the past few years. I think I left YouTube in about August, no, maybe even earlier, in 2013. Definitely 2013, and our first question, or our first topic rather, comes from a patron named Osmer, who said, pretty wisely, that I should probably address what I've been doing for the past few years before I really get to anything else. So, without further ado, here's that. Without further ado, here's me stopping using that phrase because I think I've used it twice already, and I think that's enough. Anyway, let's get to it. Also, I'm not wearing any pants. Okay, so a lot can happen in 3, almost 4 years. For those of you who don't know, I've put up the occasional odd little video game clip every now and then, but for the most part, it's been complete dead silence from me. Because, well, the last thing you'll probably remember about me when I was doing YouTube was that I asked for help financially to go to a place to be with someone that I felt at the time I needed to be with. And looking back, it was one of the most depressing moments of my life. It was in all of 2013, the last half of that year, and the early half of the next year, 2014, I was living in a panic mode. I was basically at a loss from any moment to any other moment about what to do with my life, how to best proceed, how to even really function when I had lost my sort of emotional center of gravity. And, you know, you might say, oh, well, you shouldn't have put your eggs in somebody else's basket, but I did, and there I was, and that's what happened. And basically, I wanted to travel, I needed financial assistance, and it was horrible. It was truly, truly horrible. And I know it's probably like blue-balling some people out there who really wanted to know the real, true story of everything that happened. But let's suffice to say that that period of time from 2013, the end of that year, to the early part of the next year was really just terrifying. It was like living in an emotional prison or some kind of mental bunker where I couldn't escape. All of my thoughts were directed to just completely how hopeless I was at the time. And that's what I'm going to say about that for now, about the specific things that happened there. But to answer the question in a more philosophical and abstract sense, which is what I kind of wanted to do with this video, even though it's more of a narrative question, I think I'm going to talk about what happens when you're in that sort of headspace. What happens when you are not only depressed, but suffering from basically a disconnect from reality. You're just so lost that you retreat into your mind. And honestly, I can't look into this camera and honestly say that I'm not still, to some degree, in that state. It's a much more stable state now than it was 3 or 4 years ago, but I honestly cannot say that it is really substantively different. It's just a different order of magnitude now. So, I mean, I can come before you and put on my suit and straighten out my collar, and I do this to you guys, I do this to the world. I don't even know how to stop doing it, but I go out there and I look normal, but deep inside my head, inside here, is something very, very, I don't want to say bad. Bad's not a good word. It's a bad word. Bad is the only bad word. That and should and could and other things that really aggravate me sometimes. Although they have their uses, I shouldn't say that. Haha. One of the few things I've discovered in my limited human interactions over the past few years has been that the only thing I can really articulate on to any reasonable degree anymore with real intelligence and real almost passion is my depression, my mental shit, whatever's going on up here. So let's do that for a bit. Let's make that the subject of this video. So like I said before, in 2013, I basically lost my emotional center. There was a girl, as there often is, and I truly believed in all my heart, in all my heart, that she was the human being that I was going to spend the rest of my natural life with. And it didn't work. It simply didn't work. And there are reasons for that that are kind of too private to go into. I personally don't believe in talking about your relationship details with anybody but, say, a therapist. But suffice to say, we were not a good match. But I believed that she was going to be the match for me for the rest of my life. And there was this whole massive cognitive dissonance. And you can't survive that. When you take your entire future and you wager it and it falls apart, what do you have? You have no continuity of life. You have your memories, you have your current state of being, but you have nothing ahead of you. And that separates you so vastly from other people in the world. You are basically, when you're in that state, you're not functioning like a normal human being. So what do you do? What do you do when you're in that state? And the answer is you try to avoid pain. And that's what I've been doing for the past 3, almost 4 years. I've been attempting in various ways to avoid pain. And that umbrella is what we're going to talk about now, because everything I do, everything I don't do, goes to that end. It goes to making my life, which was, at the time that I quit YouTube and Twitch and all that other shit, at the time I left the internet basically, I was in hell. And so in order to avoid that hell, I just sought out the easiest ways to get by and have little responsibilities and have little obligations and to survive, essentially. But anyway, you might be saying, OJ, or the artist formerly known as OJ. I don't even know that I should call myself an artist. That kind of leaves a bad taste in the mouth, don't you think? But you might be saying, you're not a starving child in Africa. You're not, I don't know, some kid who gets, beaten to shit by his parents all the time. Who cares about your sob story? And that's the thing. I hate that argument, because it basically says everybody has the same fortitude. Also the name of an excellent TV show, but everybody has the same fortitude is the premise behind the fact that you shouldn't talk shit about your own life simply because there are starving children in Africa or because there are people worse off than you. But everybody does not, in any way, shape, or form, have the exact same levels of fortitude. People are weak, people are strong, depending on the context, depending on from person to person. They have different levels, and each of those levels can vary within a person's own life based on their experiences. So the idea that my life, or anybody's life really, was not bad because I didn't literally not have a roof over my head is absurd. I am, by all accounts, an emotionally weak person. I get bowled over easily emotionally because of how I operate in life, because of my upbringing, which we can talk about in a separate video, because of all these factors that have played into my life. There's this great mesh, this mesh of events that came together to form the present moment. And in that present moment, in this present moment even, I am a weak person. And at the end of 2013, I was an even weaker person. And I'm probably still just as weak now, but I just have better circumstances around me that make it less obvious. So the idea that my life wasn't bad, or that I shouldn't say anything like this or complain about my life and be woe is me is absurd. Of course, woe is everybody. Woe is everybody. But as to what I've been doing personally, I can only say that around that time that we've been talking about, my life shrank. When you're in that much pain, the first thing you do is basically you make like a turtle. You retreat into your shell. You're no longer exposed to anything. You're completely protected, or as protected as you can be. And you get in your shell, you don't take in anything new, and basically your life shrinks. Your life goes from being this big web of things, and you have your friends, you have your social life, you have this, that, and the other, and that all compresses into a one tiny little ball with no little phalanges or whatever reaching out and trying to make connections with the world. And basically, that's how you stay. You incubate yourself. You stay in a little cocoon and try to protect yourself. And that's what I did. At the start of 2014 and all through that year, I don't think I went out or did anything besides go to my therapist's office. I really don't think that I did anything besides that and go to concerts. That's my one passion. Those are the two things that I do, that I have to go outside for. And then in my house, I cook. I have learned to cook. That's one thing, that's one skill I've been developing in my house, if you want to know a more positive thing that I've been doing. But more to the negative point, which I think is the nice juicy bits. Like I said, I can really only articulate the negative anymore. What you do is you just stay inside and incubate. And I'm not going to go into the specifics of how this entirely is possible, but I basically have found a way to exist with no job, no education, and no real obligations that, is sustainable. I mean, I look normal. I assume that. I think that most people would pass me on the street and not give me a second thought. But in here, in my head, is something very, very wrong. Because, and I always believed this kind of before, but especially after that trauma that happened, I believe now more than ever that there is just it's just a fact that I don't fit in the world. I don't fit with how things work. I don't fit with the machinations of the world. The growing up, having parents who give you tools to navigate the world and form relationships, be they platonic or romantic. And then you go out and you work, or you go to school first, and then you work, and then you meet somebody, and then you form a relationship, and maybe that relationship falls apart, maybe you have another, maybe you have 2, 3, 4 relationships, or maybe you just have the one. It doesn't really matter. But this is the normal path of life. But I don't think that I can do any of those things. I don't think that I can't take orders from a boss. I have no idea what a healthy relationship looks like, really. And these are all things that were decided primarily when I was very young. I mean, it's not like I could give myself the idea of what a good relationship looks like. It's not like I could give myself the idea of what it's like to get up at 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. every day and go to work for the same company for however many years. And it's sad, I think, in a sense, because there's a lot of good stuff. I mean, everybody talks about normies and not wanting to be a normie and not wanting to have a typical life, but there's a lot of happiness in the typical life. You can have an atypical life with typical aspects. You can pick and choose what you want, and there are things in a typical life that I want, but my brain it was probably not built very well in the first place in terms of relating to how the world works, and over time it hasn't gotten really any better. I can be a chameleon for a little while, but in the end, I am revealed to be what I truly am, which is a person who fundamentally, mentally does not relate to other people very well, if at all. I don't understand relationships. I don't really understand anything. The only obligation I have is I watch my friend's dog. If you follow me on Instagram, you know I love the living hell out of my friend's golden retriever. But it's almost too much. It's almost too much to get up a few days a week at a time earlier than 5 p.m. and go watch a dog. That is almost too much for me. It's like pressing down on me some days. I wake up and I groan, even though I know I love the dog, I love playing with dogs, I love taking dogs for walks. So I am constantly self-defeating. You want to know what I've been doing for the past 4 years? I've been taking self-defeating and turning it into an art form such that I can still defeat myself but not cause any damage to myself. I have nullified the pain. I don't feel any pain on a daily basis. I get an inconvenience. I get a frustration. I don't feel pain though. And that's what I've been doing for the past 3 or 4 years. I've been living in this tiny, shrunken world, doing my best to avoid pain. And while that isn't exciting or glamorous, I just think of that Modest Mouse song. If life's not beautiful without all the pain, I'd rather just never see beauty again, or something like that. But it's funny, those of you who watched me for a long, long time, back to the first Machinima video, that is a little bit of a reference. Just a teeny tiny tad bit. But anyway, I am obviously Jesus, or the artist formerly known as, or the asshole formerly known as, and I hope this has given you some insight into, at least in the abstract, what I've been doing for the past 4 years. There may come a time where I feel more comfortable talking about the specific narrative points that led me from place to place, and you can couple what I've talked about here with what was actually happening with me physically in my life, but this is a start. Again, it feels really weird to be in front of the camera again. I have to get comfortable with it. The production value is obviously not very high at this point. But know this, I want your feedback, I want your ideas, I want your suggestions. Because maybe in a way this is me reaching those little phalanges, those little microscopic fingers out from the little turtle shell, mixing my metaphors here, into the world again to try to do something that once meant a lot to me and ultimately turned into a bit of a cringe fest, I think, at some points. Maybe this is me turning that into something more adult and mature and productive. So again, I want your ideas, I want your feedback. This is Patreon, this is driven by you, and basically that's it. Thank you so much to all the patrons who made this possible. I mean, it'd be possible without you, but it would suck for me. But seriously, thank you very much. This has already been beyond my expectations. Thank you to Osmer for his idea. Please give me all the ideas, give me multiple, give me everything you've got that you've ever heard or ever wanted me to talk about, and put that on the Patreon page for me, and I will do my best to make videos about it. Yeah, this is, like I said, the first video. It is yet to take shape, but I'm excited, and I hope you're excited too. Bye.